started? That locked. Okay. No. Just reset the preferences. Yeah, YouTube is under YouTube. All locked.
Our screen is locked.
The quote the great Caddyshack.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It is Tuesday, which means you've got another episode of CLX Foundry Live right here. I am your host, DJ Blue PDX, and joining me live from our studio in Wichita, Kansas, is none other than Paul Steffens, our lead technical expert, and our master builder, Zach Killingsworth. Gentlemen, we have got some fun today because we have an incredible new design that I'm loving. Absolutely loving. Let's talk a little bit about it.
Aren't we excited?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is our new Get Excited design on our Horus NV5.
Heck yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
And this is going to be for us to try and, just play around with this new design. So what are we going to be putting in this big bad boy?
All right, so going inside of this, starting out with our processor, we've got the AMD Ryzen 7 9700X. To cool that, we've got our CLX Quench 360 AIO in black. This is the RGB version. For our motherboard, we've got an ASRock X870 Riptide Wi-Fi. Really like the packaging on that. It's nice color schemes. For our memory, we've got 2 sticks of XPG 16GB DDR5 5600 speed in black with RGB heat spreaders. And for our storage drive, we have a 1TB Team Group MP33 NVMe M.2 SSD. For our video card,
Nice.
we've got an RTX 4070 from P&Y. And for our case fans, we've got 8 of our Game DS Aeolus M2 fans in black. These are the really nice RGB ones with a ton of glowy elements to them. And
Nice.
for our power supply, we've got MSI Mag 850 80 plus gold fully modular power supply.
Nice. Yo, No Lip Clover in the house. What's going on?
Hello, hello. So we're going to go ahead and get
Welcome,
these
man.
panels off and let you guys see these real quick, and then we'll get into the build.
Now, while they're getting that all taken care of, don't forget, if
The
you
best
see
part.
something here and you have questions about something that you're not familiar with, please feel free to ask. Oh, we're going to jump in here and see these. There we go. See these panels real fast. We'll put that back up. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
I like it. No Lip Clipper says, my PC works again thanks to support. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. That's good. That's good to know. Oh, Free Mustache mentions I have an update.
Oh, nice. Do tell, do tell.
I'm thinking of Final Kill Cam Man over on the red side. Back over here on the kick side, we got Gaming Dad 724. Welcome in, my friend. How are you? I'm very intrigued to hear how this goes. Now, this of course is an NV5. It is the Get Excited edition of the CLX Horus case, which we've used before. As you can see, we've got the doors coming off. It's got that automatically installed anti-sag device. But yeah, first up, we're going to be putting a motherboard in. This is going to be the guts. So, this, of course, is going to be an ASRock X870 Riptide. Now, the 870 Riptides are really interesting. They've got quite a few different elements to them that I thought was pretty impressive. Just to go back to Mustache over here, says, so when you turn the fans off with the remote, the 4 fans that are the issue stay on and don't turn off and don't change to the colors the others do with the remote.
Interesting. Sounds like a bad, like just a loose cable connection or something.
And Final Kill Cam, I'm going to let production know that. Apparently we are lagging just a tad on the YouTubes. So, now, this is a great motherboard, and let's start with why, because it's got a lot of connectivity on it. Like, got a great backplate too, but that connectivity, here's where it's going to get really fun. So obviously at the very top, we've got our HDMI and our 2 antennas. We're not going to have to use the HDMI. Down below there, we have our 4 USB 2.0 ports, and then down below there, there's going to be some fun things. Now, we've got 2 USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports, and these are Lightning gaming ports. Then down below there, we've got, technically we have 3 of those, but there's one down by the RJ45. We've also got 2 3.2 Gen 2 Type A ports, which are 10 gig ports, and those support Ultra USB power, which is awesome. We've also got below there our USB 3.2 Gen 2 USB-C, and then our RJ45, which is a 2.5 gig Ethernet port with another USB-C, our infrared, and our mic and headphone ports. There we go. Alrighty. Now, yep, yay! I like the coloring on these. It's just, it's a nice, it just has a nice look to it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Do. Let's see up here. I'm catching all the questions. Definitely inspired by it? Yes, there we go. Let's see here. McGee asks a question, but we'll get to that in just a second. First off, let's talk about what we're going to be putting in this for its brain, and that is going to be a AMD Ryzen 7 7900X. This is a pretty powerful CPU. Paul, tell me a little bit about this thing.
All right, so this is an 8-core, 16-thread processor. We got a base speed of 3.8, and it will boost all the way up to 5.5.
Nice. Now, speaking of things that boost, I'll tell you what I like to boost. I like to boost questions that I see in chat. Right now, over the Twitch side, we've got McGee Gaming says, do you guys have much knowledge about PC error codes? Because my GPU still crashes for some reason. The company sent the card back to me and said there was nothing wrong.
Well, it just depends on the code. Each manufacturer, each brand is going to have their own version of codes. So it's not like the same code for an MSI board is going to be the same as an ASRock. Sometimes they might line up like that, but I wouldn't count on it. So best thing you can do if you got your motherboard manual, or you can just type it into Google, what that code you're getting is and what it represents. So I don't have any memorized off the top of my head because we just look them up when we get them. So.
Yeah, if you happen to have that code on you, let me know. Speaking of things you have on you, right now, Zach is putting on our, what would you call these? The stems, the braces, the brace brackets?
We just call it kind of our retention kit. It's just the hardware to mount our AIO.
Oh my God. Well, there it is. That is definitely a code.
That is a long code. I was not expecting that. I was expecting like a letter and a couple of digits. So
what device is this? And I'll do a little searching on it.
The code is 404 error.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is why we can't have nice things. All right. Now, what we've got right here that Zach is rolling his fingers across is our AIO. And that is going to be how we're going to cool the CPU. And this, of course, is going to be with one of our very own CLX Quench 360 AIOs in black. And it's also got an RGB front to it. So, Paul, tell me a little about an AIO. What does it do for those who don't know?
Yeah, so an AIO stands for all-in-one, and like you said, DJ, this cools our processor. So what we're tightening down right now is the pump, and that's going to pump fluid through one of the hoses, and then the other hose is going to come out, put it through the radiator to get cooled, and come back in. It's just a closed loop like that. This is a great way to cool your processor, especially using a 360, and by that, the number 360 refers to the size of the radiator. So we can fit 3 120mm fans on either side of this. You can go with a 120, 240, and 360 are the most commons, but there are 140s, 280s, and 420s as well.
Gotcha. There we go. Now, and comparatively to like open versus air cool, how does this compare?
An AIO is going to cool better than an air cooler in general. Now, there are some aftermarket air coolers out there that perform really well and can keep up with a 120 or 240 AIO. It's kind of hard for an air cooler to keep up with a 360, though. These things do really well at cooling your processor.
All right. Yeah, there's quite a lot of things on the Googles about it. I am definitely not trying to run into the nightmare that is known as Reddit. So, now what you're seeing Zach doing right here is Zach's actually wrapping around the power cable. Now, this is kind of important because you don't want to have a whole lot of slack cable in your system. But Zach does it very, very well in the sense that he wraps it around underneath that lip of the pump. So, Zach, what are some things to keep in mind when you are attaching your AIO to your CPU?
Yes, so when we do attach our liquid cooler or our heat sinks, those devices usually have to get plugged into at least one thing, that one thing being a fan header to control the pump. Sometimes they also get plugged into RGBs or USBs, or if they might have a screen on them, they might actually get plugged into a SATA power. So we just want to make sure that whatever our system, our heat distribution system has, we want to plug it in properly. So we want our radiator or heat sink to go into our CPU or our all-in-one pump header, and then our RGB cable goes into an RGB header so that we get some nice color to it.
There we go. The only thing that I'm seeing, and this, of course, is I would want Paul to talk on this, is the only thing that I'm seeing referenced constantly is motherboard BIOS updates. But how does that work, Paul?
So motherboard BIOS update is essentially when you get your motherboard from the factory, there's a BIOS that's on there. It's programmed to work with, all the types of memory, whatever the manufacturer wants it to be programmed. So when a new processor comes out, that's the same socket type. So you could put a new processor on a motherboard, and that processor has been released after the motherboard has already been made. There usually has to be a BIOS update done to that motherboard so that processor will work for it. Now, that's the main reason why we do BIOS updates here. But there are some other reasons you could do one. I had a buddy actually a few weeks ago buy some new memory. He was upgrading to 32 gigs and he bought a different brand and a different capacity. So he was going to use old memory in a different system. So I shipped him the new memory and it wasn't working. His system wasn't booting at all. But we did a BIOS update and that fixed the issue. And most likely it's because that memory that we shipped him was newer than the motherboard when it came out. So there's a couple reasons why you might do a BIOS update. It's not like a Windows update or anything like that where you're going to want to always have the most up-to-date. If your system's working fine, I wouldn't mess with the BIOS. It's not like you're going to get more features or anything out of it by doing it.
I have a question which might be answered by Ivory. What is a Canadian prog band? What is prog?
I think progressive.
Okay. All right.
I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong. We'll see.
Did he say prog or frog?
It's prog. I don't.
Like P-R-O-G
I don't know what
or
that means. Like, I don't know of a
P-R-A-U-G-E, because
progressive
prog,
band to use as like an example.
P-R-O-G.
Okay, got it. I was just checking because there's also the Czech Republic's prog. All right, looks like a driver issue, possibly try clean install.
Okay.
Okay.
What's an example of like an American progressive band that we would know? Because I have no idea.
Green Day.
Green Day.
Progressive?
I
don't know.
What is
I would think-
progressive
I would
mean?
think
thought
you-
progressive
more
was
up,
an insurance company.
Yeah,
like-
rude.
I would think it'd be more like Crystal Method or
Don't know who that is.
Okay.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Crystal Method? I don't.
the DJs. Yeah,
Okay.
Cody.
Rage Against the Machine might be a little
there
bit
we
up
go.
there.
Okay.
Rush.
There it goes. Rush.
Okay. I
Really?
don't know.
Did
Today
Rush
is Tom
invent it?
Sawyer,
Wonder if Rush invented the progressive genre.
right?
What was the
Oh,
very
hell no.
first
House
progressive?
started the progressive movement. It was that deviation between house music and trance.
House
Kind of
and
incorporated.
Was House before Rush?
Rush would be Canadian prog rock.
I-
Whoa!
I'm-
What?
Wow. Wow. Kensu's like, listen.
They're Canadian, so yeah. There we go. We're learning things,
Okay,
guys.
so here we go. What qualifies as progressive bands in the U.S. are groups that create music. It expands on the boundaries of rock music. Progressive rock, or prog rock, is known for its complex compositions, experimentation, and the use of unusual instruments and time signatures. Speaking of time signatures, do you know what has to have a time signature? That is what we call RAM, and that is what Zach is holding in his hand right there. Segue from hell. 2 16-gig sticks of XPG DDR5 5600 in black. There we go. These are RGB as well on the top. We're going to be putting those into slots 2 and slots 4 for those who don't know what that means or why. Paul.
All right, so we use slots 2 and 4 because that's what our motherboard manual tells us to do. Now, most motherboards are going to be this way. If you've got 4 slots of memory on your motherboard, then you're going to use slots 2 and 4 if you've got 2 sticks. It's just where the CPU looks to first, I believe, and so that's why it's recommended to use that. You could probably get it to work in other ones, but use slots 2 and 4 if you're in this position. I wonder if Creed would be considered
I
progressive.
was going to say, are the Hanson brothers progressive?
Ooh, yeah.
See, and you guys are talking band, and I keep thinking DJs. Speaking of things that
you
are,
said group of people.
yes. Speaking of things that are only 2 letters, just like DJ, we're going to be putting in an M2, an M.2. And that is right there. It's a tiny little hard drive by our friends over at Team Group. It is a 1 terabyte NVMe M.2. How does this differ from other hard drives, Paul?
So this is different because there are no moving parts in this. Now, SSDs have been around for a bit now. This is obviously an M.2, which refers to that form factor there in the slot that Zach's putting it in. But for a while there, 2.5-inch SSDs were really popular. And the reason why M.2s have taken over is they use the NVMe transfer protocol, which is a lot faster than SATA 3 that the 2.5 inches use. So pretty much everything is this NVMe M.2 right here, and then it's usually paired with a hard disk drive for extra storage.
There we go.
Goodbye, get the
Nice.
hammer.
Right? Get good. Now, as we continue to move forward, now it's time to put this. Well, actually, what's the next step there, Zach, for you?
Fans.
Fans.
Gotta give our fans some attention.
Well, that's what the chat is for. Oh my goodness. G's mentions I've tried searching these errors for a while, but can't find any fix. And the stupid store is like, nah, your card is fine. We didn't find any problems. I would imagine, and I'm gonna want to check with Paul on this one, that there is some validity in completely uninstalling NVIDIA's drivers and do a fresh install.
Yeah, for sure. You could definitely do that. Is the issue, obviously you're getting these errors, but is the issue like no video, or when you start gaming, the errors start popping up? You could also, I mean, if you can get into your desktop and save all the files you want, you can always do a fresh install of the operating system. Sometimes that'll fix a lot of issues. That's what I like to do. It's kind of a catch-all where, you know, you lose everything that's on there, but it's usually a pretty good fix.
Oh, that's what that does. Okay. Boop, boop, boop. Huge shout out and thank you to Gaming Dad. Appreciate it, my dude.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Big huge fan of huge fan of CLX.
We appreciate you.
Oh my
I
God.
think we need to start like a new Discord for these dads who like set their kids up with gaming systems from us. Because like, wasn't last week we had another guy saying he was gonna start getting his kiddos all set up?
Yeah. I think they were building a new PC, and then the kid was inheriting the old one.
Right.
It's always great.
Yeah, they're learning from Derek.
I oversteeped my tea again.
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
Oolong
Like,
or Earl Grey?
I don't know, but it makes me like want to just. Yeah,
It's oversteeping when you leave the bag in there for too long. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's Ivory's already gonna yell at me about it. But,
Once
yeah.
in a while, my screen freezes. And
Okay, so he mentions that once in a while my screen freezes and then it went black. Wait 2 seconds and my screen comes back. I've tried every possible way to reset my PC or drivers.
Have you wiped and reloaded completely, like your operating system? If you've done a bunch of other stuff, I would try that next, but it doesn't mean it's going to fix your issue.
I have a big question, just because I used to work on this
Bigly.
with Microsoft. What are you using for your antiviruses?
Oh,
Because
other
if
than
there's
Microsoft
anything
Defender,
other than Windows Defender, you're
Christ.
causing you're causing your own issues. Yeah. Speaking of issues, many magazines have tried to reinvent their publishing, but now we've got standoff.com. Just kidding. Those are the things that they're going to put the motherboard on. Paul, what do they do?
So these standoffs separate the motherboard from the frame of the chassis. So our motherboard will actually sit on those standoffs, so it won't be making any contact with the frame of the chassis, because that could cause the whole board to short out and get totally borked.
Bork. Here we go. Yeah, also check your HDMI cables. Over on the green side, Expectation Met says so. You guys prepared for 50 series launch, and will we be seeing those cards on the show?
Yes.
I hope so.
So we are as prepared as we can be. I believe we're still working on sourcing those cards. I'm not super privy to that. But yes, so we will get some as soon as we can, and we'll definitely have one on the show for y'all.
Nice. I'm excited. I am excited. I'm so excited. Bump, 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 bump. Let's see here. Oh, see, this is what I love about it. Everybody's jumping in. When is the NDA lift for reviews? That is a good question.
What kind of review are you wanting? Are you wanting a good review or a bad review? Because it's lifted right now. It's good!
How much money you got?
It's bad that you don't have
I don't know. We're neither me and Zach have any information that we're like hiding from.
Yeah.
You are under NDA right now, so.
All I know is that
We legitimately don't know.
That 5090 is 4 times my monthly rent.
What up, Necro?
Yo, 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 yo.
Yo, Necro in the house. What up, dude? Good to see you, my friend.
These freaking energy drinks got me hyped up, man.
Yeah, that's
they
good.
work. I had that one last week, and I've been like drinking
Hey,
them all
you've
the time.
been
Now I'm hooked
liking
again.
it. Yeah.
Oh, I need to get back on the coffee.
Now, here's a question, McGee. Does the monitor work when you're in the BIOS? Because that would definitely lead, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but if you're in either safe mode or you're looking at the BIOS and everything's coming through clear and you're not experiencing that issue, I would imagine that would point towards a software issue. Paul?
Yeah,
thoughts?
it probably is, because when you're in your BIOS, you're pretty much not even accessing anything on your drives. They should show up in your BIOS, but you're just communicating to your motherboard specifically. So it's a really base level to make sure that, you know, your video card's working and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean that there isn't an issue with your video card. You could have something where once there's a larger demand on it, it causes an issue. So, yeah.
Safety, you know the rules. Safety messages are only there because enough people screwed up. You know, like, please don't put your child's head in a plastic bag that, you know, that can suffocate on. Because enough people let their kids put a plastic bag on their head that they had to make a warning label. CLX fam is doing well, Necro.
My phone was on the charger, so I was reading the back of a pack of wipes at my house this day. And there's even that warning on the pack of wipes. I'm like, this thing is like this big. I don't think anybody's head is getting stuck in there.
BIOS still shows fine. He said, if it crashes once in maybe 3 or 4 hours, I'm not going to stare at my screen in BIOS for that long. That's understandable. I mean, there's only so much you can read.
Yeah, if you are wanting to do a BIOS update, MC, they are really easy to do. If you've got a thumb drive, you just slap it in there and do it. Just make sure that while your system is doing the BIOS update, that you don't press any buttons or turn it off, because that can cause major issues. But it should progress really fast.
All right, Fitty Cat over on the green side. I love black PC builds. They are so clean for lighting. I think that I agree. I mean, I have a white build here, but I have a black build down here that I stream from. Well, it still functions before it catches on fire. It's reached that point. Okay. Now, spinning this around, one of the cool things about the NV5s that we love is the fact that the cases come with, this is a huge shout out to Fantex for this, there are little Velcro ties to assist with cable management. Now, there's 2 different sides of the cable management. One is your case cables. The other is your system cables. Zach, what's the difference between those 2?
So a case cable is going to be all these that I am playing with right now. They will be your power button, your HD audios and mics. It will be USB headers and all that fun stuff. If your case like this one does have some sweet RGB aspects to it, it will be some RGB and some power for that. So don't forget to give a discount double check to all of your cables.
There we go. Now, while we're doing that, can we chat real fast about some of the features of the case? For example, connectivity. What are some of the connections built into the case, Paul?
All right, so on the very top of our case, we've got 2 USB 3.0s and a Type-C connector. We've also got a headset and mic port as well, along with a power reset button, and there's some other lighting buttons on there too.
Nice. And this, of course, comes with a really great, super little extra feature, and that is the LED strip that is on the PSU shroud housing. So can you point at that real fast and then explain why it's important to actually have one of these? Because they can't greatly improve the performance of your system.
Yeah, so this is a PSU shroud or a power supply shroud. So our power supply is going to sit under this. This is that lighting element that's on there. It gives it just a nice aesthetic look to the case. But with our power supply being in there, it's going to get its own fresh air in from the bottom down here and exhaust it out the rear. So none of the heat from that power supply is going to get into the main body of the case. Also, for an aesthetic point of view, it's got all of the cables will be tucked away in here, so you won't see any of them coming out the power supply, which just makes the system look cleaner.
Yep, a lot cleaner. That's one of the things I love about my 11 is that you don't get to see anything on the back end. It's great. Uh-oh. Freakazoid says, I need to get a new CLX shirt. Uh-oh. I lost mine because it was in storage and I lost that unit. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Hit up support. We might be able to take care of you.
You heard it first right here.
Okay.
Those cables are ooh? Yes. Well, you know. Now, as we're getting this put together, obviously we've seen Zach kind of organize these cables slightly, but this is even before the power supply unit's installed. Is there a way to utilize those Velcro ties in a manner that is going to make the cable management process easier?
Yes, so the Velcro straps, I like utilizing those with zip ties, and that is able to kind of get everything all tied up and looking good, and housed in a with the zip ties you can get everything tied up in a nice bundle, and then with the Velcro straps you can have it resting in a good location to where it's easy to work on if you ever have to get back and play with the cables.
Gotcha. Nice. All right. So, Paul, what's next on our list of things to take a look at, unpackage, or celebrate?
All right, so what we got left to unpackage is going to be our video card and power supply. So I'm actually going to go ahead and start opening our power supply next. We might as well get those cables separate. Zach still's got quite a few fans to throw in the rest of the build, so we'll have some time before we get there. But I can at least start getting the cables all organized and straightened out.
Nice. Now, our power supply unit is going to be an MSI Mag 850 watt 80 plus gold, and this is modular. So it's a little bit different than some of the other power supplies you've seen us use. And Paul, let's wander through some of the features and why modular is fun.
So modular, why we like modular here as far as building with it is none of the cables are pre-soldered into the power supply. So there's a lot of instances when you're building a PC, and let's say our CPU power, which is all usually going to be right up here in the corner, we can run those cables to there and then feed the end out the back. That way we don't have to install the power supply and then do that. So that's the main reason we like them. Other than that, when you're done after plugging everything in, you don't have any extra cables that you need to bundle up or anything like that. So we always like building with modular power supplies. However, I always say it is an area of the build where you can save some money if you want to go with non-modular without losing out on any performance.
Some quick things to note: if you're going to be upgrading your power supply unit, make sure that you use the cables that came with it. Why is that, Paul?
Oh, because all of these cables, these modular power supply cables, are proprietary to not only the brand of power supply, but the model specific. So this MSI power supply, if we had a different model of this, the cables that come with this 850 might not be the same as for, say, 1000 watt. So you really want to be careful on that. Now, typically they will pin them differently so that you physically can't plug in something wrong, but sometimes they don't, and we've definitely blown up a couple power supplies on accident by doing that.
Uh-oh, here we go. Freakazoid mentions, well, my shirt was given to me from you all back when CLX was sponsoring Wichita LAN back in the day. Do you think that I could still get one? Yeah, hit up customer support.
Yeah, we might be able to.
Yeah, definitely hit up customer support. I'm sure there's something like it doesn't. It never hurts to ask.
Explain the situation just like you explained it to us.
Exactamundo. All right, now as we're getting these out, which I've always loved modular. Now there's modular, semi-modular, and non-modular.
No.
Yeah, there we go. So one of the things that's great about these is the way that the cables are, because they tend to be a little bit more organized. Like these are all, I would say, braided or sheathed. Mm-hmm. They're sheathed. That's the, I don't know why my emphasis is so absurd, but they're sheathed. Still wait on the merch store. I says I won't run anything other than a modular power supply, as I hate the cable management with non-modular supplies.
Oh, man. Brother.
My old gaming PC that's sitting right down here that I'm using as I'm just chilling. When I had to get in there to replace a hard drive, oh my God, the amount of cables on that non-mod were just everywhere. Everywhere. All right. I definitely dig the way that it looks very, very organized with these cables.
And I like kind of bending these back. You can run your fingers through them. You probably see me and Zach doing this a lot if you watch the show. And this